friends, my name is Shayla and today I'm here to wrap up my reading month of October for you. Sorry it's been a hot minute since I've done a video. New things are going on. I'm doing NaNoWriMo for 1, 2, I now have pink hair, and 3, things are going well. They're busy, this is my busiest time of the year, but I will still try to make as much content as I can for you guys. And again, I'm really sorry it's been a minute. But let's go ahead and wrap up the reading month of October. My reading month in October was much, much better than the previous month. In September, I only read 4 things, but in October, I kind of had another manga binge for a minute and some other things. So let's just dig right into this. I'm going to do the physical books I have on hand first, and then the ones that I either read digitally or for some reason can't find my physical copy of, or I listened to on Audible. So that'll be round 2. So let's start with the physical copies, shall we? First up, we have The Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur. This is a longer poetry collection by Rupi Kaur. This is her follow-up to Milk and Honey. I do have to say, I think I enjoyed The Sun and Her Flowers a little bit more than Milk and Honey, just because there was more I could relate to in this particular long volume of poetry. And as always, Rupi's look on life is very bold. She's not afraid of what she's been through. She's not afraid to tell you what she's been through. She's very unashamed in what she shares with you, and I love her for that. I ended up giving this poetry collection 4 out of 5 stars. Next up is Manga Shakespeare, Much Ado About Nothing, illustrated by Emma Vicelli. I have a whole rambly video about this particular work of manga, and I think I'm just going to leave my thoughts to that video. I will leave it linked down below for you so you can go ahead and check it out. Next up is Lola and the Boy Next Door by Stephanie Perkins. I'm slowly working my way through these. I'm hoping to read Isla and Her Happily Ever After by the end of the year. We've got 2 months, well, 6 weeks roughly. We'll see what ends up happening. But I do have to say, Lola and the Boy Next Door was sweet. It was fun. I enjoyed this just as much as Anna and the French Kiss, if not a little bit more, because, you know, it wasn't that formulaic contemporary in school. This was a little bit different, a little bit older, and so I really enjoyed what it had to offer as opposed to Anna and the French Kiss, and I can't wait to see how Isla and the Happily Ever After plays into all of this. So just know that if you like sweet, lovely contemporary romances, this is a great one for you. I also think I related to Lola a little bit more in this one as opposed to relating to Anna. So I think that was another appeal of the story for me. So, and overall, 4 out of 5 stars. Next up is Even the Darkest Stars by Heather Fawcett. Nobody's really been talking about this book yet, which surprises me. This is like a fantasy adventure story. Basically, this is so hard to describe without giving away so many things. Anyways, this is a fantasy world in which this girl wants to become an adventurer, and she has an opportunity to go on this quest to this mountain because her and her sister are the only surviving people of the last quest that went there. Anyways, so it becomes this race, kind of Amazing Race style, where her and her sister each have companions and they're trying to make it to the summit of this Mount Everest style mountain first. And there's so much to this. This is a great start to a fantasy series. I gave it a solid 4 stars. I really did enjoy it, and I do like where it left off. So I'm really excited for the second book in this series. All right, next up we have is this Behemoth, The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. I finally got around to reading this ginormous book. I decided to read it through Audible, actually, and I ended up really enjoying the narration once again. I really enjoyed this story. It took me a little bit longer to get into this one as opposed to Name of the Wind, but it's also a lot longer. So, audiobook hours, Name of the Wind is about 26 hours, and Wise Man's Fear is more like 42, 43. So, there's a lot more content in this one. Where it ends off is really interesting to me. I don't know how Patrick Rothfuss is going to write himself out of this one. I feel like he's kind of written himself in a corner, but we'll see. And so I wonder if that's why we haven't had a 3rd book yet. I'm anxiously awaiting the 3rd book. I really want to know what's going to happen. I would love to see more in this world in general, not just Quoth's story. There are so many other characters that you meet along the way, especially in this second book. Like, there are a lot of characters that I grew very close to in this book. I didn't get that so much with Name of the Wind. It was very much Quoth and his adventures. But there are so many other characters and cultures that you get to know in this story that I would love to explore stories in those avenues in this world. So I really hope Patrick Rothfuss hangs out in this world for a while. But I would like the conclusion to Quoth's story first. But yes, 4.5 out of 5 stars. All right, let's go to what I have digitally read or I don't have physically here with me. First up is Queen of Your Own Life. This book is out on loan to a good friend of mine. This is the grown-up woman's guide to claiming happiness and getting the life you deserve. I'm reading a lot of self-help and nonfiction books lately, hoping to help me with my work. And this particular one was great. It was all about not focusing on stereotypes of people and being your own self, and it's really cool and really empowering. It's also written by Kathy Kinney and her best friend, Kathy Kinney, for those of you who don't know, is Mimi from the Drew Carey Show. So when the writing's from her perspective, it's quite hilarious, but also quite poignant. And she talks about how Mimi helped her become the woman she is now, and all sorts of things. Like, it's beautiful. It's a really well-written book. If you're feeling a little lost in life and feel like you want to ground yourself as a woman, check out this book. It's only about 200 pages. It's nice and short, but it's lovely. Okay, next up, I read volume 7 through 13 of The 7 Deadly Sins. I'm continuing on. I think I've basically caught up with where the anime ends, if I remember correctly, the first season at least. And we're getting more of that next year, so yay! Anyways, different video on all of that. But they range between 3.5 and 4.5 stars for me. I do enjoy this series. It's a lot of fun. It's a bit crass and rough around the edges. There's definitely some fan service stuff in there that doesn't really need to be there, but I do still enjoy the overarching story. The overarching story is really interesting and very politically charged in a lot of ways, and so it's very interesting for me to read. And I've really been enjoying that. Okay, a couple more nonfiction. Next up is the Magnolia Story by Chip and Joanna Gaines. I love Chip and JoJo. They're awesome. I've been a huge fan of Fixer Upper forever. So to read their whole story through this book, it was only about 5 hours on an audiobook. It was really nice. I mean, about half of the information I already knew because I'm such a fan of the show. But the other half was really interesting. It was more of their core and their backstory and what led them to certain points in their life and how they relied on God a lot more for their business and stuff. So I found it very interesting and intriguing. If you've ever been interested to see how these two random, quirky, very different people ended up with this show Fixer Upper, definitely give it a go. The last nonfiction on this list, I'm actually doing up to what I have read currently rather than stopping at November 1st, because it's just easier for me to do what I've read up to at the moment. It's easier for me to keep track of. Alright, so the last nonfiction for right now is Girl Code, Unlocking the Secrets of Success, Sanity, and Happiness for the Female Entrepreneur. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It was okay information. It's very much a girl power, rah-rah kind of book. If you're needing that kind of book, it's great. But for me, with what I've been reading recently, it didn't really fall into place for me. And I didn't really jive with the narration style. She's a little bit more abrasive and crass than I typically relate to. So for me, it was a little bit tougher to enjoy this one as much as I enjoyed Kathy Kinney's book. I would recommend Queen of Your Life over Girl Code any day, personally. But some people might relate to Girl Code more. It's a good book. It's not a bad book. But it is self-published, so there are some, little flaws, typos, things like that. Those things grate on me a lot more than they probably should, but 3 stars, I'm leaving it at that. It's not a bad book. Definitely go and check it out if you're interested, but otherwise, find something else that jives with you better. At least that's what I did. And the last book on this list is Most of All You by Mia Sheridan. Forever Romance Books was kind enough to send me a copy of this book, and I adored it. When I first started reading it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. Because it felt very Pretty Woman. She's a stripper. He's a guy who's been through a lot. And, you know, he basically hires her so that he becomes comfortable around other people because of what happened to him. Essentially, he was kidnapped as a child and all of that kind of stuff happened to him and he escaped. And so he's kind of just hidden out and not been around people for all these years. And then, you know, this stripper with parents who don't care. Her mom died when she was young, left her with her dad, who never wanted her, kind of a situation. And they end up kind of forming a relationship in a sense. This book surprised me because of the route it took. It didn't fall into something that, you know, happened in a matter of weeks like Pretty Woman. This book extends over the period of a year. A lot happens to both characters in that time, and I was thoroughly impressed with the way the tough things in this book were handled. I mean, there were PTSD issues that were handled very well in this book. There were sexual abuse things, child abuse and abandonment. Like, there are some heavy, heavy things that go on in this book. But it is a beautiful book about two people growing, relying on each other for a while to grow, and then I'm not going to give away the rest from there. I've probably given away too much. But you guys, I gave this book 4.5 stars. I ended up really enjoying this. It's definitely a contemporary book, so if contemporary is not your thing, give it a hard pass. But I really, really, really enjoyed this. And I could sit here and gush about it for another 10 minutes. You might end up seeing a separate video dedicated just to this book because of all the different things it addresses so beautifully. So if you've seen this book around and you're interested at all, go pick it up, go check it out, go read it like yesterday because it is so good. So good. It might actually make my list of my favorite reads of the year because this is one that I think about a lot. And anyway, so that's it. That's basically what I've read from October 1st till now. I've got a few things I'm in the middle of, so you'll see that at the end of November. And as I said, I am participating in NaNoWriMo. I'm currently 15,500 words into my nonfiction project, roughly. For those of you who don't know, I have a nonfiction project I'm working on, and then I'm plotting out my fiction book. I'm being super meticulous with that one, so that might not actually get written till next year's NaNoWriMo, but I'm working on my nonfiction project. It's going really well. I'm really happy with where it's going, and I will continue to be working on that. I will continue to have pink hair for a while on this channel as well. I'm really enjoying it. It's really fun. So guys, that's kind of an update slash wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't, and also make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when I've posted new videos. As you guys know, Instagram's changing all the time too, but YouTube has changed a lot right now. Some of my favorite channels are disappearing because people aren't viewing their videos and stuff, so make sure you hit that bell on this channel if you want to see more content. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.